He can be direct when he has to. He makes very, very smart runs, and he's an absolute killer floating in from the right.
Ciao Juventini of the world, my name is Giuseppe, welcome back on the channel. Guys, I am super thrilled, super happy because I started speaking about Angel Di Maria on the 23rd of April. And you know it, and you can go into archives. I always spoke really well, and you know how much I am excited about him. I can speak about Angel Di Maria for hours, but I'm spoiled. He's a new Juve player, so probably you will tell me, Beppe, you will only speak well about Angel Di Maria. So we had that Angel Di Maria. We were waiting for him for really long. There was a hesitation about him. Then you saw the happiness about Angel Di Maria with the backstage video of Juve. You saw yesterday, and that's the beautiful point, the training video where at a certain moment he's going immediately with a Rabona deep pass. Rabona, I was thinking, I said, guys, there is one guy that is not a Juve fan, a neutral fan that is called the Rabona TV. Let's invite him. Ciao, Adrian. Welcome on the channel.
Hello. Thank you for having me, and thank you for inviting me for this very, very special episode because Angel Di Maria is one of those players that's near and dear to my heart. So I don't know if I can give a completely unbiased take, but at least he hasn't signed for my club, so I can at least give you an overview of how I felt about him over the years, right? So, Beppe, always great to chat with you. I'm really looking forward to this.
I'm super happy. For the people that are not knowing Adrian, his channel is called Rabona TV. Really easy to find on all social media, but especially on YouTube. By the way, congratulations for the 230,000 football fans that are, and I am one of them, that are following your channel. He's speaking about Draxler, Ronaldo, Dybala, Chelsea, Paris Saint-Germain, European, but also world teams. If you really want to be updated, and I'm not speaking about one football this time, I'm really speaking about Adrian. If you really want to be updated with what's going on in the football world, follow his channel. Congratulations, Adrian.
Oh, thank you. And shout out the One Football family as well.
Adrian, I already mentioned the name of your channel, but also Rabona, because that's the last image I saw yesterday from Angel Di Maria. Tell me, I need to understand. Rabona TV, is it because of Angel Di Maria?
I mean, I wish I could say that it was. Maybe subconsciously there was something going on there, but to tell you the truth, when I first started the channel, I wanted it to be Trivela TV, you know, Ricardo Quaresma with the Trivela outside of the boot, just because I thought that sounded a little bit better. It's the Portuguese connection, but that was already taken. So then I went with Rabona TV instead. And maybe there was a little bit of Di Maria in the back of my brain still. I kept thinking about him and his how he loves to pull off a Rabona now and then. As you saw in that training video yesterday, that Rabona through ball and then the finish as well. Oh my God, he's such a saucy player. But yeah, I think if I had some hindsight, maybe it was a little bit of a devotion to him because, like I said at the beginning, he is one of my favorite players.
And that's my second question. How did you fall in love with
To tell you the truth, how I fell in love with him was, of course, because he came to Benfica at such a young age. He was yet another young Argentinian, young South American. This is when Benfica had a very good scouting department. He came around the time as David Luiz as well, and a bunch of other players. Fabio Contraun came through as well. So we had a pretty good team at that time. And he was a very young, pacey, technical winger that was just so explosive. He could burn past any defenders. He was always looking to get in behind. And he started a little bit slow because he's a young guy coming through to a new continent to play football. Yeah. But by the time we reached 2009, 2010, that's when you started to see, okay, this is a top player. And I mean, for him to get signed by Real Madrid after that 2009-2010 season with Benfica, where his numbers went from, I think Beppe in his first few seasons, he had maybe around 10 to 15 goal contributions for Benfica. And then in his final season, he just exploded. And he really took a huge step. And I guess it was a big enough step that Real Madrid thought, we can make use of this guy. And of course, he went to Real Madrid and he did so well, didn't he?
He did 3 seasons with Benfica. I saw also, I was doing some researches as well. And it's really in the first moments, he didn't play that much. And as you said, he really exploded in the end. Were you sad to see him leaving, or were you happy to see him going to a club like Real Madrid?
I guess it's always a little bit of both, isn't it? Because let me say this. I'm not one to buy a shirt with a name on the back, usually. I typically just buy the plain shirt, no name, no number, nothing. But the closest I've come is Di Maria 20 for that 2009-2010 season. So I was really, I mean, like I said, he became one of my favorite players. He sort of felt like he was one of those players that could become something huge. And at that time at Benfica, we had quite a few players like that. But to me, he was special. And we had sort of a gap that Nico Gaitan, I think some people might be familiar with him. He didn't really make it at Atletico when he left, but he did well at Benfica. But it never really felt like anyone would be able to match up to Di Maria and the sort of potential that he had. So I was definitely sad to see him go. But of course, at Benfica, we're used to this by now. These young players staying for maybe 2 seasons and then leaving. But of course, when Real Madrid comes knocking, this is a Real Madrid that had recently just signed Kaká, Ronaldo, Benzema, etc. How can you say no? And you can only be happy for him and hope that he goes on to deliver. And he absolutely did. I mean, we saw him go and rack up tons of assists. I think in his first season, he had 20 plus assists. I think 26 assists in his first season, actually, just looking at the numbers, which is just a crazy amount. And it's very validating for him to go from the Portuguese league to La Liga, playing in Real Madrid under Mourinho and doing something like that.
You know, you said an important word. You said he left, and then you said assist, 26 in the first season. He went from Benfica to Real Madrid, then a year at Manchester United, and 7 years at Paris Saint-Germain. You followed and you continue to follow Di Maria. Is assist the real strong word to describe Di Maria? Is that the word that you would take away?
I would think so. And you know what, Pepe, when we started talking about doing this video together, I thought, let me look into the numbers and see just how many assists he has. Because I remember when he had that first season with Real Madrid, 26 assists. Oh my God, that was amazing. And you started to see him start to turn into that playmaker type player. And then he continued that. I mean, the Manchester United season, I don't even really consider it, because clearly he didn't want to be there, or he didn't enjoy it, and he wanted to get out as soon as possible, and the club was happy to oblige. But when he goes to Paris, go ahead.
Is it also because, and I want to touch back on that a bit later, but is it also because he had no fixed position and role on the game? Because I saw he played like 34 games or something like that with United, and he played everywhere on the field.
Yeah, I think that's part of it, and I think that it was just a club in turmoil. This is, directly after, or a couple of years after 2014, so it was a year after Sir Alex Ferguson had left. Louis van Gaal had taken over for Moyes. It's just Manchester United has been in turmoil for a while now. We've seen a lot of players go there and struggle, and I think that just with a lack of identity in the team, a lack of anyone really knowing their role, sort of trying to recover after losing Sir Alex Ferguson and all the structure like that. I think that it was just a really bad time for anyone to go to Manchester United. And it would have been difficult for anyone to succeed there. But then you couple it with, Di Maria's wife hating Manchester and stuff like that. And it just wasn't a good fit, both on the pitch and off of it, I think.
We were speaking about assists, and you said incredible numbers. When he spoke to Juve in a small interview, he said 3 words: assists, goals, and victory. And he started with assist. So I love to think that really he's one of the servants of the team. He's not there as the number 1 star, but the one that will really serve. Thinking about assist, but I was really surprised about the word victory. How many times he used the word victory, that he also said, I hate to lose. This is something I personally never pay attention to Di Maria. Is he a winner?
Absolutely, he is a winner. I think that he started to pick up that winning mentality at Benfica, because when you're at Benfica, you are expected to at least challenge all the way to the end of the league and challenge every single cup, and maybe, if you can, have a decent run in Europe as well. So he definitely picked up a winning mentality there. Then he goes to Real Madrid, one of the most winning clubs in the world. And then he goes to PSG, where, sure, you can say what you like about Liga and PSG and their dominance, etc., 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 but he at least picked up a winning mentality there and an expectation to win. Sometimes you need players to feel like they're privileged and that they should win, because that can help if they utilize it properly, motivate them to always do so and keep their standards incredibly high. So I would say that he absolutely is a winner. And I think that he's one of the players that is there for the big occasion, as he showed for Argentina in the Copa America final. You know, he wasn't necessarily the first name on the team sheet for Argentina in that tournament, but he was in that final, starting in that final, scoring the winning goal. I mean, he's had that incredible run for Real Madrid in the 2013-14 season under Carlo Ancelotti, where he was incredibly important. So yeah, I would say he's absolutely a winner, absolutely always going for the victory. And speaking of his assists again, I mean, I have the numbers in front of me, so may as well go through them. He's had, since 2010, 2011, he's had 4 seasons where he got 20 assists or more. He's failed to get 15 or more assists in a season on just 3 of those 12 seasons. So it's interesting that when people talk about the top playmakers in the world, when people talk about the top, you know, assist makers in the world, he's not really spoken of that often, but he absolutely should be. I mean, he's the greatest assist maker in PSG's history now, with how many assists that he picked up while he was with the club. So that's sort of the direction that he has developed in. He went from that explosive, very fast winger that would sort of hug the touchline and was an absolute nightmare for fullbacks. And now he's sort of become, and this is also thanks to Carlo Ancelotti, I think, because he played him in the middle quite often. He's sort of become this guy that will float in from the right. He's not necessarily looking to make crazy dribbles over and over and over again at defenders, but he can take on a defender. But it's mostly his brain and his control and his passing ability that he's really started to exploit.
You're making me so happy you can't even realize, Adrian. You met him as a small kid. He's now 34. Last season, he didn't play as a starter at Paris Saint-Germain. They came to the conclusion that they had an option to extend him. They didn't use that. He's 34. He's coming to Juve. I want to know a bit about your opinion about his age. Is he too old to arrive in a Juve that want to rebuild because they have to go to the title? Physical condition, and is he ready to play a full season? Adding also the atypical year of a split with a World Cup.
Yeah, this season is going to be really difficult to see how it sort of plays out with this World Cup. I think that it's sort of an anomaly that everyone is just going to let's see how it goes type of situation. But as for his age and his ability, I think sort of what I was talking about earlier and how he has adapted his game, how he's not really reliant on his pace anymore because he has lost a step. He isn't as fast as he used to be naturally at 34 years old. I think that the way he's adapted his game, he's not so much reliant on that anymore. It's more, like I was saying, his brain and his control and his ability to pick out a pass. But that being said, it's not like his movement is completely gone. He still makes very, very clever runs to get in behind defenders. He's not someone that's just going to stand off and wait for someone to roll the ball to his feet. He still is very, very active. And, you know, considering his age at 34, I think that his injury history isn't even that bad, to be honest with you. When you look at his appearances over the last few seasons, sure, this last one was a bit of a weird season, 21, 22. You can look to less playing time because he did come in very, very tired, and he had a suspension, I believe, at the beginning of the season as well. But he came in tired from Copa America. He had some injuries. You also had Lionel Messi arriving at the club, so that's Neymar, Mbappe, Messi that are obviously going to be the first on the team sheet. But other than that, he hasn't gone below 40 appearances per season since the 2014-15 season with Manchester United. So I don't think that he's necessarily an injury-prone player. I know that some people think that, but it's a bit of a fallacy in my opinion. And I think that he will be able to contribute with this Juventus side. Now, like we were saying at the beginning, the World Cup will make things difficult because he did come back from Copa America and he needed some extra time to sort of recover. So the World Cup will be difficult for a lot of players, let alone 34-year-old players who need even more rest time. But I think that he'll be good for, you know, at least minimum 30 appearances for Juve. That is, of course, I mean, Beppe, we're speculating and we're hoping that something disastrous doesn't happen for the players, which it can. But yeah, I think that looking at him and saying, but he's injury prone isn't necessarily fair to him.
I like that. 1 year of contract. They really insisted in that 1 year because one of his dreams is to go back to Rosario. There were some controversy with some people that were saying he's coming to Juve for a training year, training for the World Cup, no motivation after. You think that he's a kind of person, because I know his skills I saw him playing, but I don't know that person too much. Do you think that that can be a problem after the World Cup? Not only about physicality that we just spoke about, but in terms of mental, saying it's over, my career is going to end. I use Juventus as a training camp.
I would like to think no. I've never really had any reason to believe that he was that kind of player before. He wasn't like that at Benfica. I don't think he was like that at Real Madrid. Sure, maybe people will look at that Man United season, but again, there's all sorts of factors contributing as to why he wanted to get out of there so quickly. But as far as his time at PSG goes, I mean, how many seasons was it? 2, 4, 6, 7 seasons, I think, at PSG. 7 seasons at PSG. I actually didn't know about his dreams to go back to Rosario Central, but I guess every player says that. He also said that he wanted to go back to Benfica. That didn't happen. I mean, it came close apparently, but it didn't happen in the end. I think that it's sort of a let's wait and see situation at Juventus. When you get to that, and honestly, for Juve as well, I think that it's a good approach as well, because players that are 34, you don't necessarily want to sign them for a longer term contract because, like we were saying, what if a disaster happens with their health? So I think that a 1-year contract is actually beneficial for Juve as well. And if it goes well, if Di Maria wants to stay, I think that he will. I think that if he can keep that high level of play that he has over the last few seasons at Juventus, I think that he would want to stay in Europe, because Beppe, look at the teams he was associated with still. Atletico Madrid, Juventus, all sorts of big teams in Europe. So I think that he'd still want to play as long as he can and then go back to Argentina.
I'm happy because just between the lines, you mentioned the name, you mentioned the word wife. She was not happy at Manchester United. She was really decisive now to come to Juve, because that was one of the rumors that she had to decide if yes or no. So I'm happy that she's on board as well. Super happy.
Adrian, maybe it'll be like a Georgina situation and she'll fall in love with Torino and he'll want to stay even longer. Who knows? Because I mean, based on the evidence we have, he listens to his wife. So if she likes it, then he'll stay.
I agree. We entered the last chapter of skills. You already mentioned a lot. I wanted to know top and flop, even if you already touched on the top, like intelligence, assist, and so on. But maybe focusing on the flops, and then also his best position, because he can play in an offensive trio on the right side. That's what he said. It's my favorite position. He said it in press conference. I also know that he's able to play on the left. I wanted to see with you, can he play as a number 10? But flop skills, or where he needs to improve, even if at 34, I don't know how much room you have to improve. I want to know a bit about on the field Di Maria.
Yeah, so I think that as far as his weaknesses go, I would say that it's his defensive contribution, which is not so much of a surprise, really. When he was playing at Benfica, he would often play as more of a left midfielder, and he was a very young man at the time, so he would contribute to the defense a lot more. However, as he's gotten older, sometimes when PSG would drop into their defensive formation, before Messi had arrived, of course, it was Di Maria who would stay in that 2 at the top of a 4-4-2 in defense, and because he wouldn't get back on the wings and he wasn't as mobile. That said, I mean, he does contribute to the counter press sometimes, but defensively, I wouldn't necessarily see him as an asset to Juventus. And then what was the other question? Sorry.
Best skills, or no, the flop skills, because I know I was watching a lot of highlights and skills, and I was always impressed by the beautiful Rabonas and so on. And my son was saying, but you know why he's always doing a Rabona? I said, because it's nice. He said, no, because he's not using his right foot. In any circumstance, he's avoiding using his right foot. Is that correct?
Yes, he's a very one-footed player. He's almost entirely a left-footed player. I can't think, and I'm sure someone can prove me wrong and find a clip, but I can't think of many times where I saw him cross with his right, let alone finish with his right or anything like that. Passing with his right, it doesn't really happen. So he's very much an inverted winger, and if we start to sort of transition to his best position, I would say that it is on the right, because he does like to float inside and sort of take on almost a inverted winger playmaker type role. He doesn't hug the line as much as he used to. He likes to sort of tuck inside. And I think that his time with Ancelotti, where he was playing centrally, he did show that, again, his vision and his ability to execute a pass absolutely is an asset, either in the central position or on the right. And yeah, the Rabonas, I think they are just a consequence of not being able to use his right foot. But I'll tell you one thing, Beppe. So I was in Paris at the end of October to see PSG versus Lille. And I went to that match, and they started with Neymar, Messi, and Di Maria in the front line. Neymar, Messi, very, very slow in the build-up, not looking to have any sort of hurry to get the ball forward, happy to sort of jog with the ball at their feet, take on a player, allow Lille to get back into their defensive formation. And then it felt like Di Maria was the only one that was playing very directly and running at defenders and making these fast runs in behind and trying to really just be a nuisance for the back line. And in the second half, he was the player that turned the game around. They were losing 1-0. He assists the first goal by beating a player and then a chipped ball to Marquinhos in the middle. And then the second goal was just classic Di Maria. He floats in from the right into the box and then just rolls it into the far post. And I think that was sort of the perfect encapsulation of Angel Di Maria and what he brings. He can be direct when he has to. He makes very, very smart runs, and he's an absolute killer floating in from the right.
Last question. Right choice for Di Maria to go to Juve and Juve to take Di Maria?
I think so. I think that, I mean, you can speak on this better than I can, but it seems like there's still a rebuild that is going on at Juve. And to have someone who is a winner, someone who is a leader within the team, and someone who has all of this experience, I think I can't really see any downsides for this sort of stopgap year while Juve sort of focus on getting someone else in there on that right wing. And I mean, you could have far worse choices than Angel Di Maria for a season to sort of play those tantalizing through balls for Vlahovic. That's one thing that I'm really going to be looking forward to, is seeing how they sort of link up. Because while Di Maria was at PSG, while he was at Real Madrid, he was constantly playing those through balls. I mean, this was not a very good season for him, this past one. And even with that in mind, his key passes per 90, 2.64 or 2.84 per game, that's still 96th percentile. Through balls per 90, 99th percentile. So he's still very much a player that is going to be able to pick out Vlahovic or whoever it is that is making those runs through. And it's going to be interesting. I think as long as he stays healthy, he's going to be an absolute asset for this Juve side.
Look at that. Adrian, you were amazing. You convinced me even more, even if it's too late, because you already signed, so he's already a Juve player. But you convinced me even more to wait for the first appearances in Serie A of Di Maria, where Juventus needs to go to win. Winning with Di Maria, but also with Paul Labille Pogba. I can't wait to see him. That's my boy. So thank you, Adrian. For the people that are watching and are still here at the end of the video, you can decide. This one, I steal that one from you, Adrian. You can put a dislike or you can put a like, whatever you want. Subscribe to the channel, not only mine, but especially today, the one of Adrian. Rabona TV, thank you. As always, Forza Di Maria, Forza Adrian, and Forza Juve.